Good morning.
Hi. What was I saying?
Transition.
Transition. Transition to this message now, not the message I was given in about 5 minutes ago. Happy 2020, everyone. I can't believe it's January 2020, and I'm thrilled to be able to say I said that right today. So,
You did.
let's talk about what we're thinking about today, but let's start off with 2020 first, because I'm loving the message on that right now.
Yeah, we said it a little bit in the last e-learning, but 2020 as a number is most often equates to vision and sight. And I think that this is definitely the year in business. You're starting to see it more and more as the year goes on. It's the year to have a clear vision. It's the year to be crystal clear in what you're about and clear to your people.
There's a lot of people that will say, oh, I have 2020 vision, or I just had LASIK and surgery, and now I have 2020 vision. Mm-hmm. So, what's everyone's perception of that?
Yeah,
it's perfectly clear that you see perfectly, that you can see what you didn't see before, right?
Yeah.
So when we think about making the list of, I'm ahead of myself. When you think about 2020 vision in business, and this is where we really want to spend a little time with the owners and even the staff. 2020 vision in business means everyone sees it, everyone gets it, and everyone buys into participation of it. And to make it happen, you don't have resistors. And so let's speak to that a little bit, because...
Well, you know what, the thing I want to say is sometimes you do have resistors. Resistors are part of business. There's people that don't get it right away. But our message of this is the year to be clear is definitely one to be as clear as you can possibly be with your staff. Be as clear as you can possibly be in what you're about, who you're speaking to, understand the people that you're leading in the best way that you possibly can. But being clear is the ability to really state it. Clear isn't sometimes clear, sometimes foggy. It's clear. And this is the year to make that happen and to work at it. Because sometimes they say, in a lot of the books that I've looked at and read, they say that the number one thing missing throughout companies is clarity.
Oh, sure.
Clarity of message.
Well, and you can put clarity next to honesty. So many people are fearful of leaving because they're going to lose their staff or hurt someone's feelings. And so the vision gets muddier and muddier and muddier, because now it's other people's perception of your vision versus leadership.
Kind of like the telephone game.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The further it gets along the way, which is why most times leaders have to be willing to state the vision over and over and over again, not until you're tired of it, but until they get it.
Well, and so that's why when we think about it, people will be involved and people will make things happen if they understand what their contribution is, right? So when you are doing things and you're making, how do I want to say, you have a clear vision and you think, why doesn't everyone see it? It's because you didn't state it enough, or you didn't make it absolutely clear what your expectations were. Both are part of it. Just stating a vision isn't enough. I mean, you could state the vision here all the time.
State it, live it, inspect it.
Inspect it. So here's what we mean about vision. And there's so many people that are training staff right now to develop them, to have their contribution add to the productivity of the business, or replace productivity, or create a new category. And what I mean by that is we've got salons that we're encouraging to call themselves and position themselves as teaching salons. Not just a salon, but we're a teaching salon. We can create talent here. We can create performance and hairdressers that can make a good living. And when you say that, when you have crystal clear vision and we build hairdressers or spa technicians or whatever category, you have to be able to say, we can build hairdressers in 12 months' time. We have a program that indicates maybe it's 6 months. And based on our criteria and our expectations that we inspect, we're going to be able to create a hairdresser that's going to have confidence and knowledge to produce results. based on our format. And in this fashion, we know the outcomes, and we can point to people right now that we've done that with. It's very easy to state results when your vision is clear and you can quantify your vision as well.
And then, how do you get that story out there? And the reason I'm saying that is that we have encouraged salons, especially teaching salons, we've encouraged them to have a separate social media site or group that allows them to speak just to potential employees, potential recruits, and also celebrates the people that you are teaching. One that I saw just starting a few weeks ago, and I love the name. It's the Gallery Salon in Springfield, and they've got a site called Gallery Grown.
Nice, like homegrown?
Yeah, like
Gallery
homegrown,
grown.
Gallery Grown.
Love it.
And what I like about that is that they're celebrating the people that are in training, and by doing that, they're telling the story of
It's an
how
invitation.
they, yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful invitation. And as we know, people are always looking for talent, and talent is always looking for a place to land. So if we don't have these things in place, how do I know I'm in good hands with you? And when your vision isn't clear, I don't know if I can fit here. If the vision isn't clear on how you produce hairdressers, I don't know how to take a chance with you. That's why this is so important. And social media, having a separate site, I love that. So let's go into making the list. You know, when you think about making the list, you know, and this came I started saying, sorry, I'm looking down again. We have new equipment today. I hope they're noticing it. We're so excited, right?
We are.
Yeah, we're a little bit like CBS, ABC, and NBC today, and Fox. I mean, we've got more people involved in creating a new kind of format for us in 2020.
We hope you like it.
I'm looking at the monitor right now, and Brian's saying, "Don't look at the monitor."
Right.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about make the list. It's amazing to me how many don't even know the list they're trying to be on. You know, what is required? How do I say this? What's required for people to make the list? Now, making the list means you're in the upper echelon of choices. That when someone is sitting down and saying, what assistant do I want to work with me? What's a better day when this person's working? Who are those top performers that create energy? Every owner has a list. We all have lists. And the people that we'd rather rub elbows with and do a project with or just work side by side with. And is what is required, and this is how you tell the team, what is required for your team to make the list? And I'm going to use the gallery as an example. They are a teaching salon, and they've really focused on that the last 3 to 5 years and have really perfected the message of it. But what I love is the assistants that are in training, and there's multiples always because that's part of their profile and how it works, is you can tell the hairdressers that are working who's making the list as assistants because they say, this person's really catching on. They're really starting to work with us well. And everyone ranks everyone. And it's human nature. But some people don't even know if they make the list or not. They just show up to work. Here I am. That's making the list. I showed up. No, people, there's more to it to make the list. And we're going to go into that. So when I asked the teammates, where are you in respect to leadership? And where are you in respect to the teammates? And where are you in respect to the salon, the staff, the guests? So when you look at it, when you come in, do they go, oh, I'm so glad you're here? Or do they go, oh, yeah, this one's here today? So why is this so important? And then how do you stay on the list, right? I mean, if I look at, we used to do a baseball game exercise. Let's talk about that.
2 years.
Right? You knew I was going to go there.
Yeah, I did.
So we do this. We probably don't do it as much as we used to.
Maybe we'll do it this weekend.
Yeah, maybe
Or
we'll do,
when
yeah.
we're
Everyone line up.
on a flight.
So we used to, I don't know who we got this from years and years ago, but we would sit down, both of us, and we'd say, okay, let's play baseball. And we've got our whole staff waiting. It's kind of like the playground baseball game when you were in gym class when you were growing up. And I say, okay, let's roll to see who goes first. And then I say, okay, you won, go first. And he picks the first person he knows he wants to have on his list of team. And usually when he picks, oh gosh, that was my first choice too. Then I go and he goes, ah, and we go back and forth. And the first 3 or 4 are very easy. Then the next ones, who would I choose next? And inevitably, what always happens is, well, I know who I don't want. Remember that? We would say, oh, I don't want that one. And then we'd have to say to each other, well, why are they still with us if we know we don't want that person on the list? Or how are we excusing this or justifying it or protecting it? Why are we doing that when they're not even making the list in our minds?
There's many ways to look at the list. You know, I think that when you talked about the bottom of the list maybe and saying why are they still with us, it could
they're new.
They could be brand new.
Right.
They could be people that are maybe different kind of learners. But the bottom of the list tells you if we're investing in them, what do we need to do to help move them up? What do we need to do to make sure that they continue to have a place on our list?
And that's the conversation when you sit down and you say, let's dissect into this person. Because I was driving to work today, and I have a crack in my windshield, and a little stone must have hit it, and then when it got cold out, it cracked all the way through. Can I tell you, when I get in the car, I want to kill somebody because I'm so mad at myself. But then when I get out of the car, I forget about it, right? It's not on top of mind. I just start going through my day, and not until I start the car up later on and I think, why didn't I get that fixed today?
Haven't got it done.
Still haven't gotten it done. Well, that's a great analogy for business, right? That you don't know until it stares you in the face, and then you go, oh, I didn't address that today. Gosh darn it. And then the crack just sits there. Now, pretty soon, if I don't watch it, I'm going to get so comfortable with the crack, I don't even see it anymore, right? And that's the problem in business, is you have to stay focused on the stuff that's obvious, and you address them soon. Last night we sat down and we were talking about this presentation today, and he said, you spelled American Idol wrong, right? You spelled idol wrong, and you forgot to add, what was it?
I can't remember. I tried to get it added before we started the
Started.
presentation.
So-
I couldn't think of it.
He forgot to add something, and I said, what is the first thing I said to you?
Text
Text Brian.
Brian right now.
Because you won't be able to remember, and you didn't. It's a good example.
You told me I wouldn't.
Oh, Stephen Allen. So what happens is you don't remember because you didn't respond, and you've got to capture that. Those things are huge because you miss an opportunity to make something good great, and then you justify it like, I missed it. And I think I told you twice at the table, and we were having dinner, and I understand that, but we lost an opportunity to make something good to great.
And I'm sure you'll remember it as we get to that slide, and everything will be fine.
Oh my God, he's a justifier. He's a justifier. Okay, so why is this important? Oh, gosh.
Did you go through how to stay on the list? No.
No, I didn't stay on the list.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's talk about how to stay on the list. You know, why is it that we hire someone? And remember, hope is not a strategy. We've talked about this for our last 3 e-learnings.
However, I will tell you that if you don't have hope, you'll never execute a strategy.
But it's not a strategy. You can't go, I hope it gets better here this year. That's not a strategy. That's like having your fingers crossed during a football game. Come on.
You've done it.
I've done it, but it's not a strategy. So let's look at, how do you stay on the list? Why do some people enter the salon circle? We hire them. Oh my gosh, we are so hopeful for this one. We found the one. And we give them a ton of energy, and we're so excited. And we have someone starting with us. Antonio's in the room today. We're so hopeful for Antonio, right? And what happens is we put a lot of energy into them. We start a training program, we have a schedule, everything starts moving nice. And then the wheels start to fall off, right? They're not part of the daily conversation. And all of a sudden we're not putting as much energy into them. Maybe we're not looking in their eyes every day. You know, we now have a new hopeful candidate that replaced the energy we're putting mentally towards Antonio. And now people are no longer on the list. That happens in businesses all the time. And do you think your staff feels that? Sure they do.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I kind of look at the list as I read something that this morning that was very kind of thought-provoking and moving at the same time. And it was about a child, a teenager, who felt like they weren't seen by their parents. And I think of that, if you're not on the list in the kind of the metaphor that you're giving here, it's the equivalent of not seeing someone.
Right.
They're in your company. They're there. They show up. They're doing what they think is right to in order to continue to be a member of the company. However, they're not being seen.
Well, you know, it breaks my heart to talk about this, but this is one of the biggest weaknesses in society today. We've talked about this in the past where we've taught an 8-hour class to hairdressers. And at the end of the day, we're saying goodbye, and I look at someone, I thought, I never saw you once today. They made no impression on me. Their energy didn't stand out. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't participate in any way, even in engagement. And I think, wow, how are they going to create that with a guest? Because that's key. In our industry, connection, engagement, being able to show your care factor and such makes such a difference, because you to be on the guest list saying, oh, this is my hairdresser, this is my doctor, this is my banker, all of it is based on connection, and are they safe and in good hands, and is there a positive energy that flows between you. So when you look at this, let's talk about these outcomes and what can happen as a result. Can we go to the next slide? I'm going to enter.
Oh, yeah.
So when you look about our responsibility, now here's the thing. I mean, I am absolutely certain there's mutual accountability on making the list, and this is where I wanted to start with the owner to understand their responsibility first, and then how to teach the responsibility if someone has lost their mojo per se. So, did our salon rob their spirit? Did something or someone rob their spirit?
So give me an example, because you're thinking of something. What would rob someone's spirit in the salon?
And I think these are the examples down here, and then I'll give you a couple.
Okay.
So, did we provide more attention in the beginning, and they feel that distance, right? And maybe they flunked a couple tests. Maybe they didn't get that haircut. Maybe they just are dragging their feet when they walk in. Maybe their image isn't as good, and all of a sudden we pulled our attention from them, right? Mm-hmm. And then did we look in their eyes more often before than we are now? And did we ask them how they were, how are you, only in the beginning? Mm-hmm. And we stopped checking in on them.
I'll give you an example on the school side. We know that the majority of people that enroll in our schools and give up or drop is the word that we use. They drop from our schools. It happens usually within the first 450 hours, and it's usually right after or shortly after they've completed what we call core.
Which is a very structured environment.
And the difference is that in core, mm-hmm. they're in a classroom with usually 22 other people and 2 learning leaders, and there is a very tight agenda to accomplish in those first 250 or so hours.
And you can feel the relationship that class has to each other. There's this, mm-hmm. and they have their own jive, right? Mm-hmm. They communicate differently with each other, those 24 people. And they graduate from that, and then what?
Well, when they move on from that, then they're kind of in the general population of the school. So they're working between, they're usually all in the clinic classroom or they're in the general classroom, mm-hmm. but they're immersed into, 100, 150 other people.
Yeah.
And the learning leaders are still there, and they're there within the ratio, within a very tight ratio, but they're not seen in the same way, and they're not interacted with in the same way. They're there, they're a resource, There's times where they know they have to, but it's in those times when they transition from I'm one of 22 to I'm now one of 100, 150 or more. Now what? Is this kind of all there is? Is this the way I have to learn the rest of the way? So if we know that I would call that the equivalent of robbing someone's spirit.
Sure.
Maybe the cycle robs someone's spirit. If we know that, then we need to respond to that. What are some of those times in the salon?
When do you feel that new person who's starting with you has that fire underneath them, and all of a sudden that flame is starting to go out? You can see it, less organized, less proficient, more comfortable talking about non-business related topics. So did we give them permission to not feel important or valued?
And did we give them permission by not knowing some of the chatter that exists in the business? Are our legacy people great examples? Are our legacy people kind of forwarding the cause? Are they paying it forward with those young people as we go along? Are they keeping them enrolled and involved?
Or do you hear, just wait, just wait?
Yeah. Or are they sometimes, and please know that there are many salons where this isn't the case, but there are many salons where this is the case.
Well, especially when the
That
owner is active.
the legacy staff members are the people you don't want to be like.
Well, and they'll say that. I don't want to be that. I mean, all of a sudden, they're two-faced, or they walk in a room and everyone.
They're just worried about their own. That's what happens most in a salon with a legacy staff member is they're just worried about their chair, what they consider their clients, and coming to work, making their money, and going home. And that's so not what somebody signs on for when they join a salon.
No, they want
wanna
to
be
feel,
part of a
they want to
team.
fit,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this isn't a hazing that should happen when they join the salon team. But if we say we need more help here, yet we don't embrace our new help, I mean, we're part of the problem. So we want to go more into others. I mean, when you look at, and this is kind of how I made the list, and I was talking about this with the gallery, you know, when you have these assistants on staff, and they know we've got these 3 assistants that are working with us today, they go, oh, she's our favorite. She's our absolutely favorite. So the new trainee first choice that everyone's talking about, and then the assistant's first choice. They want this assistant. Maybe it's a front desk team member, and they go, we love when you're up there. There's never a mistake.
Well, Terry, when you think about it, we do the same thing when we consult with a salon.
Sure, we
One
tell
of the
them,
first
put that
things-
in order for us.
One of the first things that we do is we go through each and every staff member and how long they've been a hairdresser, how long they've been with the salon, what are their talents, what do they bring to the... Now, we don't ask them to rank, but they tend to give it to us in the way that they rank. Their favorites. You know,
Yeah.
This is one I couldn't do without. This is one that gives me the most grief. This is one that I'm concerned about. She was great, but now she's got a new boyfriend, and so there's stories. The stories equal how they fit on the list.
Sure. And do we allow those stories to come in? Yeah, bring your story. Stories are welcome. Bring them in. Bring all the junk into this business. Or do we say, hey, watch yourself? I mean, there's so many times when a new person starts and it's not happening as much. Maybe it's because I'm older or the staff is taking care of it and it doesn't get to me as much anymore. But I would say, can I see you for a minute? You're brand new and we need to pace your personality a little bit. I mean, we know a whole lot about you personally before we know what you're going to contribute to the business. Make sure you're making some really good deposits in business first, because when you tell us all the stuff in your life before you've made a contribution, people will behind there go, wow, we don't know about this one. She might be a wackadoo, right? And so we have to teach them how to pace themselves. I mean, too much information too soon is going to create that distance. Yes?
And whether we know it or not,
Drop down the list.
yeah, it's some of the factors that drop somebody down the list.
Well, when you look at all the different choices, you know, you look at the salon team's first choice or leadership's first choice. I'm not talking about clicks. I'm talking about contribution. And I know if I was going to do a project today, and I know the people that will give me that hustle. And some people, you know, are a little slow and everything they do is like watching paint dry. They're still very smart, but they're not project people. And I know who I want to work with if I'm on a project, if I want to get it done in 2 hours. These are the people I'm going to pull in to get that because of their speed. They've got great contributions in the business. Speed isn't one of them, right?
Well, let's give an example with this. I'm just thinking around here. If we have, invariably, when we have someone come in from the outside that's going to meet with a group of our people, and they have anything IT or audio visual, I'll tell you,
It's not going to be Terry.
the number one person on our list, the number one person we go to is Brian.
So he's made that list.
So let's look in the salon and say, if you had to do an inventory project, you were going to do a physical inventory of the entire salon, who makes that list?
Who makes that list?
That's going to tell you, first of all, who do you rely on? Who has the greatest sense of detail? Who do you know will take it seriously? And so on. So they'd come to the top of the list. If you were going to do a bridal party, who's on that list? Okay, what are the qualities?
And what are you looking for to make the list? Tell them.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to make, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but that's all right. If you want to make first chair in the symphony, what do you need to do to be first chair? That's not, hey, I like you most, sit down. It's these things have been absolutely accomplished, and you earn the right to be in first chair.
So you did remember it.
What?
That's what
it
you wanted
first
me to
chair?
add. First and second chair.
Good.
I knew you would.
Orchestra,
See?
symphony, yeah? Antonio is already laughing at the wrong times, so we need to talk to him about pacing his personality, yes. Okay, so when you look at all the different things, leadership's first choice, salon team, you know, I put this down at the bottom because I remember this, making the list. When we were in grade school, they did a weekly citizenship award, and you wore a ribbon around all week, and you were the person in the classroom that the teacher wanted to honor for their contribution academically and their behavior. I never got it because I always talked too much. Surprise, surprise. But who did, and everyone wanted to wear that. I mean, you weren't jealous because you were happy for them, but everyone wanted that purple ribbon.
But I bet you started every week when they awarded that ribbon.
I'm going
you
to
said,
get it.
I'm going to get it next week.
I'm going to get it.
But
I'm
then
not
you
going to
had
talk this
to
week.
keep
I'm going to talk more. So those things happen. But look I still remember that to this day. And I was in grade school.
Then you didn't get it.
And I did get it.
Oh, you did?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I got it. I don't think I got it. I probably was the last. They probably said, "Oh God, we have one more week to go. Let's better give it to that one." So how do I make the list? I mean, you look at. I was trying to just put down the things that are contagious, whether it's an athlete, whether it's an employee, whether it's academically. Why do you make the list? And I think if you put a group of owners together, these would be things on their list too. Why they didn't, or why they did.
Yeah, and the point I tried to make earlier is that there's more than one list inside a business. And there are some of these things on why they didn't make the list that would show up on one list or the other.
But why did you tell them? I mean, how many times I've said to athletes, "You're not starting. Did you go ask the coach why?" "Oh, I don't want to." "You're not allowed to ask that question." "Are you nuts? I have to know. I want to play. Tell me why I'm not in the lineup today." I'd have to know that. That would drive me nuts. Or in a salon, how come this girl and I, we've had this many times, she and I started at the exact same time, she's on the floor and I'm not. That shouldn't be a surprise question. That should be, I know who's going to get chosen first because we're communicating with it, and these are the things I'm still working on.
Well,
right?
And it goes back to lack of clarity, is what you're saying right there.
Yes, and
because
honesty.
If they know what they need to do to make the list, they know what they need to do to be on the floor, how is that, how is that communicated?
I had a conversation with a leader this last week, and I said, "How are you doing with 2 people?" And she said, "I don't know." I said, what is it? One is things going on in her personal life. And I said, what's the other one? All attitude. I said, okay, how much longer are you going to tolerate this? How much longer? I mean, this isn't the first time you talked about attitude. This isn't the second. But this is absolutely the crack in the windshield. Right? We're allowing that attitude to be part of the business.
And then sometimes, because I know the case you're talking about, sometimes it's a matter of because you didn't talk about it, you're keeping that person from change.
But you're talking about it with everybody else.
Yes.
They deserve to know that you drive them nuts. Steve?
That's what I mean. They can correct it.
Steve?
They have.
That was very good. And you understood it before the audience did. Yes?
And it's just a great example of why you didn't make the list. It's lack of connection.
Well, so when we look at these things, let's go through these. Oh, I saw it. I felt it. I saw it. Okay. So lack of care factor. I'm seeing you be more dedicated to the technical, serving the customer, having a servant's heart. Tell that story about that guy we hired, and he only lasted a day.
Oh, always through the interview process, especially when we're talking about someone who's on the street representing us, walking in and out of salons, we talk about how we serve hairdressers and the servant's heart that's required. And one of the things that back when I was involved in interviews, I said the one thing I can't tell in an interview is if you'll fall in love with hairdressers, because
he had sales consultant experience in the industry.
He had consultant experience. Well, came time to the first PSC Net, which is where we host stylists for 2 days, and Terry and I speak, and sometimes Gino Stampora's with us, and our staff is there to help facilitate. We serve lunches, catered meals, as many of you know. And beverages we help with, and it came time.
You can't talk about customer service for
and not
2
model
days
it.
and not give the example of it. That's just how we are.
Yeah.
Right?
And so it got to the end of the day, and we were all cleaning up the room, resetting it for the next day.
Yes.
And this person pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I thought you were kidding when you said we serve hairdressers. I didn't know you meant it literally."
I'm not getting someone a cup of coffee.
I'm not going to get a hairdresser a Diet Coke or a cup of coffee. I can't do that. And I said, well, then you can't work here. And it was his last day. With this a very short time as a result of it. Because we can't have that be any other way. It's what we stand for. It's who we are. It is. It's care factor. When somebody, we say at the beginning of every class, we want you to want for nothing while you're here. Well, if you want a Diet Coke, any one of us could get you a Diet Coke.
And if the soda of choice wasn't here, we'd probably run out and get it.
Probably would.
Right?
Yeah.
That's just who we are, and that's how we think, and that's how we carry ourselves. However, if someone doesn't have that in their DNA, they're not going to fit. I don't care how great he was. Mm-hmm. I mean, that I've never seen you fire someone that quickly. But it was the right thing to do. And he said, I thought you were kidding. No, that's who we are. So when you put the clarity down, and he didn't take the clarity seriously, even though we shared it with him, he didn't own the information or own the behavior, but that's difficult. So anyway, let's go on to the next one. There's just not enough joy in them. They don't love being a hairdresser. Love for the craft. Well, do you like it? The jury's still out. I think I'm going to go to X-ray technician school too while I'm doing this. You can't have that either. I was born to do this. This is exactly what I'm meant to do. Doing this brings me so much joy. So if there's not, there's going to be a problem there. Lack of excitement on a daily basis. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and she said, reiterate what you look for when you're interviewing somebody. And I said, I'm looking for contagious enthusiasm. Someone that can kind of make me sit up and be on the edge of my seat, or make me want to ask more questions. I'm looking for that. And I'm looking for a great storyteller, someone that can just bring me into their world about how they think and how they position themselves. So when I see lack of excitement or someone that gives one-word answers, Even how are you doing during the training? It was okay. We've got a girl here that I'm starting to see her personality come out a little bit more. She did better than the interview than she does being new, right? And that's just fear of trying to fit. So then we have to put our arms around her, make her feel comfortable. Lack of connection, that's hard. You know, we terminated a girl after a short period of time because she was more about people talking, you know, trying to fit socially than she was in the business. And wow, the business is moving so fast sometimes I think you could feel ignored if you're looking for all social. Lack of hustle, self-explanatory. I mean, there's people that will walk away from things so they don't have to take out the garbage, or they know the towels need to be done, but they're hoping someone else is do it. I don't know how to look for getting out of work. Just they absolutely think of ways to get out of work versus leaning into it. You can't have that in a busy salon. You're not making the list because you're not asking enough questions. Right now is your time to be an absolute student. Ask away. Just go. Fire them up. We're looking for you to be engaged and ask us. Your job right now as a new person and to make the list is we're teaching you how to think here. And if you're not getting it right, we're going to redirect you, or we're hoping you're asking a lot of questions.
Well, and asking questions, I mean, that's just proof of interest.
Oh,
I sometimes, especially, I spend more of the time with the consultants. And if they're not asking questions about their territory, I think either they're not interested or they're not working.
exactly right.
And
Or if they're not sharing, right? This happened, or this is my idea, right?
yeah, we find out, we learn through asking questions.
Did I talk about Tom Hanks yet in e-learning,
Not
or was
e-learning.
that last month?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So let's talk about it really quick. We were watching the Golden Globes, and Tom received, I don't know.
Cecil B. DeMille Award.
Thank you. Tom
It's
received it.
like a Lifetime Achievement Award.
And so he got up there, and he's look at his
Resume.
legacy and his resume, and so he got up and he was talking about the first director, the first great real movie he was on, and a lot of the cast was out, far too late, enjoying too many spirits, and they came in the next day, and that director was, my gosh, he was on them like glue. And he said, you guys, come on now, you're not taking this seriously. There's 3 things I need from you. Number 1, I need you to be on time. You know, at 10:45, we already have it on the production schedule that we're shooting this scene. No one should have to walk to your locker, knock on the door and say, Tom, you're wanted on the set. You know it. Be there. Be able to relax and enjoy your lines and maybe kibitz with the other people on the crew, but be on time to make connection. That's number 1. Number 2, know your text. Absolutely know your lines, and not just your lines, but everyone else's, so you can feel how your lines have to complement each other, because it's a rhythm. And the last one, he said, which is probably the most important, was come to the set with ideas. Because if you have ideas, you're going to make me a better director, which in turn is going to make the movie better, which is going to make you a better actor. So when you look at people not asking questions or not having ideas, it's almost like they're not leaning into the information or the teachings. I don't care if they have one question and one word question, like, why? That would be a great question to me. Why? Why do you do this? Now, we do this because of this. Why? Because we want to be the salon's best service relationship, their best service provider. So we offer these beverages. We take their coats in this manner. This is the dialogue in which we use. This is how we escort the guests to the front. These are the reasons why we don't let this service happen by chance. Lack of energy and lack of interest. Steve kind of already covered that. Gosh, are you interested? I mean, tell your face. Lack of energy. Tell your face. It's just not that hard. We recently, because of my mother has had some health issues, we now have someone with her that's during the day. And her energy when she comes in, this is why I like her so much. She comes in, and the first thing she says to my mom is, "Good morning, sunshine." Oh God, you know how much I hate the
You're
morning.
not sunshine in the morning.
I'm
no.
not. No, I would be moonlight, but she's that first energy she wants to give to my mom. And so today she walked in and said, "Okay, let's create some things we can do together today. I'd like to paint your nails," and she wants to fuss over my mom. And
Your mom doesn't like
my mom doesn't. She's so low maintenance, but here's what she's doing. She's giving energy, and she's showing interest in my mom. And to hear them just talking in the other room together, God, what does that do for our comfort level, right? So it's the same thing. When you've got an employee that's giving energy and interest, and they're communicating with your customers, it's a wonderful feeling, right? And interviewing, how do we interview for that care factor? Everyone could say, "I love taking care of the elderly. I love being," but until they show it, you don't know it, right? Next one. Everyone has a list in the world. Everyone. Everyone. I have a list. You have a list. Our service providers, everyone, especially the guests, have a list. And when you make their list, are they telling everybody? Sure are. I mean, you look at this next example of all of it. Let's talk about the different lists so we can see the relevance of lists in society and in our lifetime. First of all, I've already said this, the guest or a customer. Why does someone go to Target? Why does someone go to Chili's? Why does someone choose Portillo's? Why does someone choose Starbucks, right? And if you give a list, one of the lists can be just that they decided to be a different drive-up window than other businesses. They made that decision. So that's how they're making the list. They're making the list as a company, and then they're asking their employees to be that list for them.
Sure.
Right? So we're looking at that example. A scouting list is everyone in athletics. I don't care if it's scouting, a coach is looking around high school to see who's 6'5", 300 pounds, and he wants them on the line, right? On his football team. But they're making lists. Colleges are recruiting by scouting. Pros are looking at the people they want in the draft. So it's a list, but what do you think they say? Who's at the top of your list right now? Who's your top 5? Even a person going to college has a list.
Sure. Even our niece, Kate, in high school, she was talking about the classes that she's going to be taking in the next semester.
Yeah.
She had a list. She has a list of classes and a list of instructors that teach those classes. Isn't sure if she'll make it in those classes or not.
Because of the interest of everyone. She goes, "But my last name starts with A. If they go alphabetically, I probably can get in."
Right. But I mean, the important part is even something as simple as that in casual conversation. Then I think about ESPN, right? You know that we're sports people, and they start very early on. At the beginning of the college season, they'll make their first draft list. There's two main reporters, employees, whose sole job is to stir up and continually make lists of talent for the upcoming draft that's going to happen months and months and months later. And then they progress it. They do it mid-season, then before the bowl season, then after the bowl season. Then they'll do several mock drafts based on that. But something as simple as a draft list for football. Let's think about that. A team would have a different view based on their needs.
Sure they would.
So their list would be different. Even though they could say, we're both football teams, you could say as a salon, we're both salons.
But one's not looking for a quarterback.
But your list is different than the salon down the street or the salon in another town. So knowing what your list is important.
Yeah, what are you looking for? I mean, there's times like if you're going to hire, I mean, it's not just a warm body, someone who breathes oxygen. I mean, what are you looking for? And are you looking for someone who really loves color? I mean, you've got to find that stuff out. You're looking for someone, I mean, if you were a color house and your average ticket or your average service is 1.8 or 2.1 because color is key, and they're saying, I'm not comfortable with color yet. Could you get them there? Yes, but you're really looking for someone. It's a multiple service house, right? And we really understand that we want to be the multiple service provider for our guests. They are also knowing, what are we looking for? I mean, if you are a kid that needs structure, you better go work for a coach that's going to kick your tail with structure, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think of, again, I don't know how many of our listeners have read Vidal Sassoon's autobiography. But what I love about that is as he tells the story of his life, he says, I wasn't born Vidal Sassoon that you know today. I wasn't a great hairdresser right out of school. What he did was he selected salons that had leaders that he could learn a specific talent from. And he did that in advance. I need to learn this from this one, this from this one, and this from this one. He stayed in that salon until he had mastered that skill, until it became his skill. And then he moved to the next, he moved to the next, and he moved to the next. And only after that did he open his first salon. And there were so many things that happened during that time. One of which was he had a salon owner that said, Vidal, you want to serve the class, the upper class of London. But your dialogue, your voice, your vocabulary,
It's obvious where you
says
come
you're from the lower class.
Yep.
You have to change that. And God bless him. He went out and he hired a speech coach. And anybody that knew Vidal before he passed knows what an elegant speaker he was. I mean, that was one of my favorite things about Vidal, is to have a conversation with him. It was like you were having a conversation with a royal, right? And it was beautiful.
Just the way he said hello.
The
good
cadence
evening.
and the pace and the tone. And that wasn't to know that wasn't just him and the way he was born.
He created that.
He created it. So what makes up your list, and how much are you willing to coach people? Would you have had that bold conversation that salon owner had with Vidal? It said, your voice is going to be in the way.
I love that. So you look at the scouting list, they all have them. An invite list, are those important? Oh my gosh, a wedding party. She didn't ask me to be in her wedding. I didn't make the list to be in her wedding party. A party invitation, I wasn't invited. Do people take lists seriously? Sure they do. A talent list. You look at American Idol, that was never fixed.
That is? Oh, it's not fixed here, it's fixed there, see?
Sorry, thank you. Oh,
I do well.
thank you. So American Idol, why do you think people are so excited to watch these kind of shows? It's because they want to know if their choice wins, right? People are rooting
Your
people
list
on.
against
Your list against others,
the
or
final
your
list,
list
yeah.
against the judges. You know, you look at The Voice, The Bachelor. I mean, that whole thing, that's craziness. But you look at The Bachelor right now, and when someone gets removed or doesn't get a rose, you see they all cry, which is pathetic, but you still see the girls all shocked that they didn't make the list. They really thought they were all going to make it, right? And then when they get sent home, and then how they say it, okay, sorry ladies, say your goodbyes, and everyone's all really sad because they didn't make the list. The Oscars, that's another list. Careers are a list. The Dean's list, right? And then you look at the best-selling list of books on the market. People want to go read those. They're on the best-selling list for the last 16 weeks. Or People's Choice. An election is nothing but a list,
Sure.
right? So sports teams, cheerleading. I can remember when I would try out, and people would say, did you make it? Yeah, I made it. Oh, congratulations. But people are always wondering, if they know you're going after something, how you're doing. Theater, theatric parts, the callbacks, You know, we're down to the final 6. We're making a decision, or even model calls. We have that here. 80 people will show up and they're picking 8 models.
Right.
Every girl in the room wants to be picked, or every guy, but they're not making it. But what are we looking for? And I always say, when you make your decision, saying we're looking for very specific models, you all are stunning, but we have to be able to fit in this wardrobe, and we're looking to try to create this. And some of you were very clear about not wanting to get your hair cut. I want them to feel good when they leave. I don't want them to feel like, I mean, we've had people cry when they weren't selected. You know, it's been hard, but what are you looking for? Be very, very clear on what you're looking for. So why are these lists more important? Why are they? Why are they more important than people even realize? You know, I think about, it's not just a career, it's all the people. You know, when we recruit an educator, it's because they started making the list at PSC to have energy and love for the brand, or connection with the brand, that we think they can go out there and help us make noise with that brand. So you have a list, there's a list, the front desk knows who it's easy to work with, or who they can partner with, or who they can ask more of. The salon team knows it, leadership, distributors know, salons that make the list for us, educators, manufacturers. You know, when you make the list, and this is the thing I wanted to really get in touch with today, is that making the list creates fans, it creates loyalty, and it creates so much opportunity, because your name keeps being extended to other people. It creates noise, and people keep talking about it. I mean, you look at that last slide. You know, we've said this before many times. People always think, I always want to be remembered. But Robert said to us once, it's to never be forgotten. How do we put in position for a trainee to go through the process and never be forgotten? And I love when I talk to ex-bosses, and they said, oh my gosh, you were, they probably say it to everyone, but they'll say, you were one of my best employees ever. I made his list, right? That's the stuff you want to hear. That's the energy and connection and contribution you want to make. And your salon needs to make that list by never be forgotten, by helping people understand what they have to be in to make the list. Yes?
Yes.
Good? How is the new format, Brian? Good? Does it look good on the screen and everything? I'm looking up there. Okay, Terry Cowan.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next month.
See you next month. Bye.